Hello and welcome back. 2022, here we are, baby. How are we all going? Very glad to be here with you all. Cam Wilson here. I'm sure you know that. It's my first show for 2022. And yes, that's right. I do have some new streaming background music. I thought I'd change it up. How's the volume? Is it a little bit too loud? Maybe I'll turn down a little bit. Is that better? That might be a bit better. Woo! How is everyone? Now, some people have been extremely generous already. And subbed to me. I haven't even done anything. And yet, they've subbed to me. Thank you so much. Hello, J-Dog. So thank you to Kyle Sheldrick, who recently got a new job, which I don't know anything about, but I'm excited for you. Tentatively, assuming it's good, which I'm sure it is. You're so talented, so I'm glad to hear that. And yeah, I'd love to hear some more about it. DeathSocks43 has resubbed. Joseph has asked, Cam, in your Facebook post earlier today, you said you were back from your exodus. Did you mean hiatus? I don't believe one generally returns from an exodus. Please address this, thank you. I've actually been waiting for the opportunity to break my silence on this. And this is what I have to say to it. You're right. People don't generally return from an exodus. But I'm not most people. I absolutely have returned from my exodus, and I'm very glad to be back. For those people who don't know, I will. I got married 2 weeks ago now, and I stoked about it. You can see the little ring there. There you go. Actually, I'm officially a wife guy. New wife guy just dropped. I'd like to think of myself as a male trad wife. Look, I don't know if you can translate that to males. Is there another term for male trad wife? Who knows? Yeah. My wife. I can't even do the part voice. Yes, so I'm psyched about that, and then I had another week off in Byron, which was nice. Actually, funny story about the ring. So, it's actually the jeweler who we went to actually has a family connection to both of us. Somehow, both to Gowry's family and my family, which is really nice. That's where I got the engagement ring from, and so it was like, I don't know, just weird fate that it meant that we both had connections to it, so it was perfect. So we went back there to get our wedding rings, and Gowry, knew what she wanted to get. She looked through all these options, ended up this really interesting one, not your stock standard one, but is very discerning and knows what she wanted. And so that took half an hour, and it was very exciting, and she found something that made her really happy. So that was great. And then the jeweler turns to me and he's like, so what do you want? And I'm just like, just your stock standard ring, just a ring. And he was like, it doesn't really work like that. You gotta give me some suggestions. And I was like, nope, just one ring, please. Anyways, that's how I ended up with a pretty standard one. But yeah, I don't know. Somehow, incredibly, we avoided the worst bits of of the COVID outbreak. We had our biggest celebration was outdoors, and somehow we didn't get rained on. So yeah, all going well. Very, very happy about it. Haven't even been married. J444Z, your most ring-like ring you have, sir. And that was pretty much it. I was like, one ring, please. So that was that's my wedding update. What did I miss? Good to be back, lads. Regina, good to be back with you, my faithful lieutenant. Board Hermit gave out 2 community subs. Oh, thank you. So C, you said that you were doing something with around advocacy for the religious discrimination bill. I'm very interested. Tell me more. Oliver Pocock has also subbed. Thank you. Wow, great to have everyone back here. And thank you for following Cabbage Mode and Incessant Tapping. Thank you for tuning 10 bits. Woo. All right, we're here. How is everyone else doing? How's everyone's year gone so far? Feels like I had a very slow one to start because of all these various celebrations, but I'm very keen to get into it. I have been a bit. Look, I promised my now wife that I would log off at least a bit for our honeymoon and wedding, and I mostly stuck to that. So I'm a little bit out of touch with a few things, but there was so much stuff that happened over the past 2 months since I've streamed that we got an embarrassment of riches to talk about. This could be the best stream yet. It's certainly the best stream of 2020 so far. Oh, Big Almond Tree is also subbed. Thank you very much. Who haven't I said hi to who's in the chat? Incessant tapping. My wife. Exactly. My wife. I'll keep doing it. I'm not sick of saying it. Thank you for cheering as well, Cabbage Road. Hello, Buddy Card. Hello, Curvy Gamer Wife. My Curvy Gamer Wife. I know, J-Dog. I logged off. I've lost my edge. You know, I don't have that single man rise and grind set anymore. No, I've lost my hustle. Thank you, Haley. Yeah, you know, good. I'm bloody stoked about it. Oliver J. Pocock asks, is it on? I don't think so, but God, I wish it was. I just think that we'll get into this a little bit, but I just don't think anyone thinks that Peter Dutton is better, and I don't think that there's not really convinced that J Fry would be better. So I don't think it's on. I think they're gonna ride ScoMo to the election, but we will see. Okay, I think I've said hello to everyone who's jumped in the chat. If you haven't already, and you're here, and you haven't chatted, please do. I would love to hear from you. Yeah, so Eagle Irony asked one question, which is interesting, which is that don't you need 75% of the party to
TLZ roast the assholes.
Oh, thank you, Born Hermit. Don't you need 75% of the party to spill? Now, I think that's the rules, but can someone correct me if this is wrong? But isn't it like you need 75% of a vote to change the leader, but you only need 50% of the vote in the party room to change the rules? So you could just change the rules to only 50% again. I think that's right. So essentially, it's still pretty much 50%. It just, you know, gives you a little bit more. You know, it sounds like you've done something about the instability. Anyway, okay, let us get into. Oh no, I have to do my quick promos before I do. A lot of people have subbed. Thank you very much for that. I appreciate it. But if you haven't already, you can subscribe for free if you have an Amazon Prime membership. All you gotta do is go sub underneath, and you know, some money goes to me, some money goes to Regina for her moderating stuff. So I appreciate it. Oh, I actually have some. I bought one of the things that I bought, which I haven't had a chance to install yet. Oh, sorry, Regina. Them. Sorry. I'm so bad. I'm really, really sorry. Thank you, Regina. Some money goes to them. I need to go and do I need to do some kind of punishment to get it wrong. Anyway, this is what I bought with my money. Which is, I got some of the bisexual lights. You know, you put them up in your room, and they're like purple. So I'm gonna put them up, and I'll be like a cool streamer, one of the cool streamer ones, like the youths. Can you tell I'm 31? Oh, I turned 31 since we've been away. Okay, that's all. Oh, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to my socials. Okay, that's it. Let's get on to the good stuff, the reason that you are all here for. Woo! Okay. Scott Morrison, our friend Scomo, has just been cucked so much. Like, I think if I was like political editor of 9, Chris Ullman, which we'll get onto later, I would run an editorial on how he is. He is one of the most just like cucked world leaders that I can imagine, because, and this is, I should write something. I should pitch something on this to Crikey, although I'm not sure to get past our subs, but just everywhere he turns, he gets absolutely embarrassed. Like, he just gets, he you know, people hate him, they undermine him, and I feel like, you know, like my all of you remember as my faithful streaming friends that last year in November I was like, Scott Morrison, I think we'll remember this moment as a potential turning point, because it was just after the Macron stuff, which reinforced this idea of him being a liar. And I was like, we will remember that, if he loses the election, we will remember this as a turning point. And it was absolutely right. And I also was kind of talking about how, I think this has changed now, but at the time, it still wasn't really widely recognized that Scott Morrison, despite winning what was thought to be like the unlosable election, was actually a fairly unpopular prime minister who just got popular at the right times. And this is what I'm talking about. Let's go into the news poll, which is, I'm sure you guys all know, but like, is the news poll, is the election polling that most people pay attention to, the one that gets the most attention at least. And if we see here, so leaders' net satisfaction. So here's just comparing how popular the leaders are, which is kind of it's not the only thing that people think in elections, but just kind of interesting as well. But here we've got Scott Morrison. So he challenged Malcolm Turnbull at the end of 2018, and then he was mildly popular. As you can see, he has a net satisfaction rating, which means how many people say they are like satisfied with him minus people who say they're not satisfied with him. He was positive, and then as soon as he came in, and then he dropped down, and he just picked up just after the election. So you remember May 2019 was the election, right? So he won the election. He beat Bill Shorten, who was a deeply unpopular man. And then after the election, voters tend to like say, well, if they are an electoral winner, we'll give them some more points. We'll say we're more satisfied with them. So you got a bit of a bump there, right? You can see that. After then, you can see his approval dropped and dropped and dropped until boom. And by the way, this is over this time was the bushfires, the going to Hawaii, him saying, I don't hold a hose. So he's becoming like more and more unpopular. And then at the end of February, early March, and then into April, the pandemic happened. And around the world, what we saw was all political leaders got a really big bump in how popular they were. So, you know, they were dealing with this, they call it the rally around the flag effect. Well, Yumaton's just said it, who I didn't say hi to before. Really nice to see you as well. People say there's a national emergency. What we're going to do is we're going to be really like pro the government who's in, pro the prime minister or president or whoever it is. And then boom. So there his approval rating goes up. But then since then, slowly but surely, particularly as 2021 started and there was the vaccine rollout didn't work as well as he'd planned, things dropped and dropped and dropped until now he is significantly less popular than Anthony Albanese. And as you can kind of see, the actual thing, which is how people say they're going to vote, Labour is looking good. Now, we should always say the proviso. This is just what people feel now. May change on election day. And we saw that Labour had won every news poll. So they had won on the two-party preferred up until the election, which is when things changed. But the first thing in my argument that Scott Morrison is our most cucked Australian Prime Minister ever is that he's never been actually that popular. People don't really like him. And yet he got this like bumped from COVID, which is actually a real favor to him. And then since then, he has just time and time again lost popularity. So that's the basic one. The second one is that premiers outright contradict him. They call him a psycho, and he just has to eat shit all the time. Because during the pandemic, what Scott Morrison did was he convened this national cabinet, which was, said to be a way of coordinating all the states who have to deal with health together with the federal government. And so this was being wow, isn't he a leader? But since then, Scott Morrison, who absolutely loves not to be responsible for anything, we all know this, I don't have to explain this, he loves to say it's not his problem, it's someone else's responsibility. He increasingly said, things like the quarantine, it's not my problem, I'm not going to deal with it. So what we saw was the premiers became the ones who became more popular. They started calling the shots on all these things to do the borders, and eventually they just started contradicting him. So here's one from the archives. This is October last year. I don't know if you remember, but the new New South Wales Premier, Dominic Perrottet, came in and he just said, he just went, this is when Australia was still closed. We were going through, I think, Delta, and, we weren't accepting people. And then Dominic Perrottet was like, we're just going to start taking people. And he just did it out of the blue. And then Scott Morrison, as it says here, Dominic Perrottet's decision to throw open the international border was done in a way that left Morrison on the political back foot and his office scrambling to catch up. So Perrottet just came out and said, we're doing this. And then later that day, Scott Morrison was like, oh, we support that. So we got, they're supposed to be coordinated, and they just make him eat shit. Someone's asked, and sorry, I should have done this before. What is cucked? Now, cuckolding is a term for when, what it literally means is when it's traditionally your wife has intercourse with another man. What it means metaphorically is to see yourself usurped and absolutely, rendered powerless and useless by other people. And that's the way in which I'm using it. Despite being ostensibly the most powerful person in the country, Scott Morrison at every turn is just being told to eat shit, and he just has to do it. And look, he manages to do it with a smile on his face, and he's very, very good at saying I actually wanted this. But it happens time and time again. Now, you remember this has happened just last week, but I think it was an all-time moment. We should remember our dear friend, unfortunately I'm blocked so I can't talk to him, but our dear friend Peter Van Onselen at the press club last week.
Minister is even more scathing, describing you as a fraud and, quote, a complete psycho. Does this exchange surprise you? And what do you think it tells us?
Well, I don't know who you're referring to or the basis of what you've put to me. But I obviously don't agree with it. And I don't think that's my record.
Oh no, I just remembered that's going to get DMCA'd. But anyway, we can just kind of see our good friend Scott Morrison absolutely just being... imagine going to the National Press Club, which is supposed to be... this event was the... was Scott Morrison's chance to, get past his horrible summer when people hit him for not having enough rat tests, all that stuff. He was like, the press club address is my chance to reset, to start this year of right, and the election's going to be soon. And then PVO comes out with a question being like, I've got messages from Gladys Berejiklian calling you an absolute psycho, and from a current colleague. So, yep. And he just had to eat that, as we can see, and just look at his face. Just having to cop it. Absolutely not mad. Okay, and then also, and of course, we also saw him last week. He just had to accept the fact that he said, Scott Morrison has claimed that West Australian Premier Mark McGowan did the right thing in delaying the state's border opening. Now, in context, You remember that the federal government actually joined in initially Clive Palmer's lawsuit to declare the border closures unconstitutional. He has criticized them in the past, but because, rightly or wrongly, the state border closure in WA remains extremely popular, not only does he have to go back on what he was talking about, he has to publicly say, oh, actually, no, they're doing the right thing. Just eating shit. We saw that, of course, Barnaby Joyce, of course, called him a hypocrite and a liar from my observations, and that is over a long time. I never trusted him, and I dislike how earnestly he rearranges the truth into a lie. So that was texts that were received by Brittany Higgins. That was widely shared last week. And so what happened was, I think it was first gotten by the 9 papers, like Sydney Morning Herald and The Age. And so they went to the PM's office to ask for comment before they published. And what the PM's office did was, and this is pretty naughty, was in the time that they bought saying, we're waiting for your response, the PM's office gave the texts and a statement from the Prime Minister to News Corp, their favoured publication or I guess media company, so that they would be all presented in the same package. So rather than being like these texts came out, what it came out was initially was that Scott Morrison forgives Barnaby Joyce. But just like, he was clearly trying to make the best out of a bad situation, but just like having to publicly say that your second in command has called you a liar, as everyone else has. You know, this is a reputation. This is an idea that is really sticking. There's something that's really damaging. Like, this is, I think, one of the core reasons why people don't like Scott Morrison now. And this is one of the core reasons why he may actually lose the election. To have to say, Prime Minister Scott Morrison says he has forgiven Barnaby Joyce for describing him as a liar last year, insisting he could not care less what people say about him in text messages. Totally, man. Totally. We all remember what Macron said.
I have a lot of respect for your country. I have a lot of respect and a lot of friendship for your people. I just say when we have respect, you have to be true and you have to behave in line and consistently with this value.
You think he lied to you?
I don't think. I know.
Now, like, just to remember that, like, that's actually like a huge moment for another country's leader to actually outright call someone who is their ally, someone who they worked very closely with, a liar. It's hard to hear the video. Okay, noted. I'll see if I can turn that up for the next ones. Or the other thing, the other world leader who absolutely cucked Scott Morrison was Joe Biden.
I want to thank that fellow down under. Thank you very much, pal. Appreciate it, Mr. Prime Minister.
So he forgot his name, obviously. And look at that sad little wave that he gives him afterwards.
That fellow down under.
That fellow down under.
Thank you very much, pal. Appreciate it, Mr. Prime Minister.
What's supposed to be like, you know, one of the like, you know, really exciting, impressive moments as a Prime Minister. You know, when you, as a little guy from Australia, can stand alongside, you know, the most powerful man in the free world, the President of the United States. You've just said we're going to buy shitloads of submarines for billions of dollars. And then you can't even remember your name. And like, this was a big press thing that, you know, they really made into a thing. Absolutely cucked. We all saw these images, of course, of the Australian of the Year, public Grace Tame, just ruining this photo opportunity. And look, there was plenty of discussion by people we mentioned today already, other people, about how this was rude. But why I actually thought this was particularly interesting that I didn't really see anyone talk about was that, you know, people say Scotty from marketing, which is very funny. But he is someone who, as a political leader, clearly places such a high value on controlled media opportunities and visuals like this. Like this was an intentional act to do, to undermine the thing that, like, Scott Morrison clearly, thinks is very good at and values. Like, at a prime minister who time and time again has actually been caught up for trying to, push photo opportunities, like, the forced handshakes, that kind of thing. Grace Tame really effectively ruined that and created a days-long discussion that drew attention to her continued criticism, and not for not just like, I don't like you, but based on like legitimate policy reasons. I thought it was incredibly effective and incredibly savvy. And yeah, as Curvy Gamer Wife has pointed out, not just Grace, but also her fiance, I think his name is Max. A few final things. Now, Scott Morrison, Haley Griffiths, great point. He uses women as props, a woman who stands up for herself and doesn't allow herself to be used by a powerful man, and the idiot controlling men of the country freak out. Hey, Noons, what's up? Good to see you. Happy 2022, baby. Now, I've said this before, but like, one of the interesting things about Scott Morrison is that, he's not like a really, he's not a policy guy. Like, he wasn't like Tony Abbott, who, was frothing to become prime minister to knight to Prince Philip and to, introduce like school chaplains and give them, hundreds of millions of dollars in the federal budget. He's not like Malcolm Turnbull, who, I mean, arguably was very, very cucked as well. I mean, we all saw how he was treated by his party room. But he, wanted to be like, innovative and agile and snowy hydro 2.0 and all that stuff. Scott Morrison doesn't really have any like policy ideas that he wants. In fact, I think to me, he represents this like almost like very traditional version of conservatism where he just doesn't want things to change. And as a result, he doesn't have any ideas about the future. He couldn't paint a future of Australia with different policies because he doesn't have any ideas of things how he wants to change. Like, he's talked briefly and floated briefly industrial relations reform, but that never really happened. But the other big thing that it really is because, his religious, persona is such a big part of his identity, is this religious discrimination bill. It was a 2019 election promise. He really wants it, and he said he'd figure out a way to stop it so that kids, in school couldn't get expelled because they were gay. And it looks, and despite being actually in the end not as extreme as some people thought. Jason036, thank you so much for subscribing. That means a lot. Despite him wanting to, this being one of his few signature policies, it doesn't look like he's able to get through at the moment. We'll see. Even though it's been watered down, although we still don't have some protections to protect, kids, it doesn't look like he's going to get through. Like, if he was a prime minister who had the kind of power of conviction, who was really able to like lead his party room, he would be like, this is the thing that we need to get done. Like, I think this is important. And yet it's still really questionable. Hey, welcome, Lindy Penguin. Glad to have you here. And finally, and so, I mean, look, he's kind of cucked insofar as he hasn't, if not for COVID, he wouldn't have had anything really to do. And the few things that he wants to do, he just really, really has kind of failed at. So, again, not getting what he wants. And finally, the traditional backers of a coalition government, News Corp, seems to be turning a little bit. Here's today from Andrew Bolt, who's never been a massive fan, to be honest, of Scott Morrison. He's pretty hardline conservative, and he's not afraid to kind of call out non-hardline conservatives. But with the headline today, ScoMo has got to go. I mean, that's big. People pay attention to this stuff. And the second thing was, and I know people debated about this, but this came also up in the press club last week from Sky News correspondent.
We've got up to
Andrew Clennell.
Andrew Clennell from Sky News, Prime Minister. We've got up to 100 Australians a day dying with COVID, a low booster rate, inflation, indoor businesses in Sydney and Melbourne on their knees without your support. What are you going to do about these problems? Have you lost touch with ordinary Australians? And on that theme, off the top of your head, can you tell me the price of a loaf of bread, a litre of petrol, and a rapid antigen test?
Now, I'm not going to pretend to you that I go out each day and I buy a loaf of bread and I buy a litre of milk. I'm not going to pretend to you that I do that. And I'll leave those sort of things to you, mate. And you can run it. But the point is...
Oh, that is so uncomfortable. Now, look. You know, people have, like, these gotcha questions. I understand why people might not think are... You know, like, if you can't say how much a birthday cake costs, as was famously, or how, your changes would affect a birthday cake's costs, as was famously the case in the 1993 election with John Hewson and his fight back policy. The reason why I think that this is particularly interesting is, I just read when I was on my honeymoon, Sean Kelly, who's a columnist for 9 Papers and a former Labor staffer. He had this book called The Game, and he wrote about Scott Morrison, and it's an incredible portrait of him. And one thing that he makes really clear is that he's like, Scott Morrison has done such a good job of packaging himself as the ordinary Australian, and he's done that by focusing on like a few things, including the fact that he's from the Shire, that he supports the Sharks, that he cooks curries or whatever. Sean argues that he's done a great job of saying that he represents, like, he's done a good job of making himself appear, to the press gallery, to other people. He's put out these signals that it's like, this isn't Malcolm Turnbull, who was always like, supposedly the smartest guy in the room. This is a guy who's an ordinary Australian who just happens to be Prime Minister. That is why, like, a comment like this actually matters, because his appeal has been built on the fact that he's like, I'm an ordinary guy, I'm doing my best, I may not always get it right, but at least you can trust me to be a good guy. I'm not like Bill Shorten, who's shifty and trying to take away your negative gearing. I'm just an average bloke. I don't want things to change. I'm not going to rock the boat. I'm not going to change Australia Day. I'm not going to do all this stuff. But when he when he actually can't, when that image of him as an ordinary person who, roughly knows how much a loaf of bread or a liter of milk or a rapid antigen test costs, like, that matters. Not all political attacks stick. Not all things matter, because sometimes they don't. Like, it's like the Trump stuff. You could go out there and you could call him a liar. You could expose, you could say, you said this and now you've said this. And his voters wouldn't care, because that's not what mattered to him. Because he had based his strengths on other things. Scott Morrison's strengths have been based on the fact that he's an average guy who you can trust. But the liar stuff and things that kind of expose that he's actually not that ordinary. Like, I didn't buy the rapid antigen test. I was in my car with a chauffeur, and my staffer went and get it. Like, that stuff actually does matter. Hard to know whether, like, everyone is finding out about this stuff, but I do think it matters. Anyway, so to conclude, Scott Morrison is just cucked from every single angle. And I argue that he is Australia's most cucked Prime Minister, because his party room hates him. Or not hates him, but don't like him. Particularly New South Wales Liberals do not like him. The premiers don't like him. Increasingly, Australians don't like him. He doesn't have any ideas, and the ideas he hasn't been able to get past. Even the traditional allies of a coalition government are turning against him, because they know that there's a pretty good chance he's not going to win. even the Australian of the Year, you know, people are supposed to be kind of like apolitical. Just embarrassed him. He is Australia's most cucked PM, and I will not accept any suggestions otherwise. I rest my case. Whew, I don't know how that turned into a 20-minute talk, but that is my thesis. I will be writing this for a quarterly essay on cuckolding that I hope you all buy. It'll be in all good retailers. Did I used to do debating? Welcome to the Cuck Show, maybe. Woo! All right. We have a shitload of other stuff to get to. And I will be testing you on on why the reasons that he's the most cucked. I am a cuck expert. As someone who has a wife, you know, I can put myself in the shoes of someone who's cucked. I haven't been cucked, but just, you know, I can imagine it now. I feel it keenly, so that's important to me. Okay, I'm gonna take a quick break. I'm gonna get something to drink, and when we get back, let us talk about the internet license that we might be having to get. Back in just a second. Ooh-wee, how are y'all doing? How was the first almost half an hour monologue from me for the year? Thank you for bearing with me. Sorry if I said cuck too many times. You know, that's the thing. I'm a fearless internet journalist. If I see the truth, I just have to say it. Democracy dies in darkness. Okay, hello everyone. Campbellson here. Thank you for joining me. We've got a fair bit to get through. I probably won't get through it all, but I do want to get to some stuff that is just very, very important, and that is the idea of an internet license. This came out today, and well, you tell me what you think. The Labor Party wants to roll out a national e-smart digital literacy course for primary and high school students if it is voted into government at the upcoming election. The course, called e-smart digital license plus, that's like the spiritual successor to do you remember Vegemite's Ice Snack 2.0? That was God. I wonder if Scotty from marketing was involved in that one. Anyway, e-smart digital license plus is designed to help build digital intelligence. It is a gamified learning experience where students can explore an interactive story world containing learning materials, relatable scenarios, and guided reflections about personal experiences with technology. Once students complete the milestones in the course, then they receive a digital license plus. Shadow Minister for Education Tanya Plibersek likened the digital license to a pen license for the digital age. Labor wants to ensure these resources are available to all children, regardless of what school they go to. It's crucial that all our kids learn the skills they need to keep them safe online. Labor has promised $6 million for the program. The lab is a pilot program designed to help teachers build literacy aged 12 to 16 years. So, now, I would love to blow this a little bit out of proportion, but I think some people have misrepresented this, that I don't think this is going to be a requirement for kids to access the internet. I think it's just going to be like a pen license, which, as many of you know, is not actually required to write. As someone who never got their pen license but has been writing anyway, because I guess I'm a bit of a renegade. I can speak to that. But look, hey, I actually am totally in for literacy about this, and I think it was Evie Partone on Twitter, or maybe it was Sam Floriani, but someone was like, you know, this should be built into every single thing that they do. It shouldn't just be a simple course. It should be part of like every single subject that they do. You know, science, you should be learning about how to be critical about like the idea of a preprint that's put online. You know, English, you should be able to understand about how people make, you know, different kinds of like logical fallacies, not to get all Joe Rogan on you guys, but and Ben Shapiro, but like, you know, that kind of stuff that like teaches you how to understand what happens online. Like it should be, you know, this kind of literacy and this skepticism should be built into everything that we do. That being said, and this is what Moz6522 said, $6 million for a national program is cheap. I mean, look, this is peanuts. It's just really, it's nothing. It doesn't really matter. That being said, I reckon we should be getting old people to do a digital license. Like, if you can't tell the difference between a screenshotted tweet and one that is clearly like photoshopped with different text, I don't think you should be allowed to be on here without supervision. If you, if you reply to an Elon Musk account that's been, just some other hacked account that's asking you to send them Bitcoin, again, I think that you probably need someone to supervise you when you're on the internet. I think that this should be introduced to people over the age of 65, and it should be compulsory. And look, there are many people online who are older than 65 who are very capable. But I feel like, look, we got a 14-year-old in the chat, Leo Puglisi, who's been on the receiving end of internet pilled retired teachers calling him a liberal shill, which, by the way, I'm so close to cracking the truth and finding out that, like showing the paper trail between you and Scott Morrison personally and how he funds you. But we've all seen what it's like to have these people just absolutely abuse kids because they just they're off in their own worlds. Their mind, these boomers' minds, they just weren't made to deal with with all that is available online. It's kind of like, that tweet that's like, if you fed a Victorian kid like one Dorito, they would probably die from the flavor. That's what it's like with like people a lot of the people over 60 who are suddenly exposed to Twitter. It's too much for them. And I think that we should be doing something to help them. So I would support this being rolled out to over 65s. In fact, potentially, I think maybe we should link this to negative gearing. If you want to have negative gearing, you've got to pass this test for digital literacy. Okay. Oh, okay. Because we don't have long left. Sorry. I've missed some great chat. Let me go through it. Bored Hermit. I showed my grand TikTok and I swear to God she nearly popped. I actually think I have one remaining grandfather, like grandparent. And I think that if I showed him the typical post from like an Instagram influencer, it might kill him. So I'm kind of glad that his phone is still like a classic, like one that has like physical keys. Haley Glyph says, have you seen those videos of gorillas using smartphones and iPads? They work the internet thing real quick. Well, that's the thing. People over 65 are physically capable of using the internet. They have the fine motor skills. It's just that their minds, raised on the privilege of being a baby boomer and everything that came with it, being told that they deserved everything, being, promoted, buying a home at 24 with like 3 bedrooms in Sydney on a single like Woolworths cashier salary. That kind of lack of rigor of testing has meant that once they're exposed to the richness that is the internet, they just can't cope. And I'm honestly worried about them. Virginia says, James Matheson, the Australian Idol host, replied to me on Twitter. Can you please get him on as a guest? Absolutely, I'll ask him. Oh, Zales subscribed with Prime. Thank you so much. It's very grateful. I'm very, very grateful. Thank you. Dyson Hayden had to have his emails printed out for him. Now, that's not even that crazy. So, Tony Abbott, who's not that old, like I'm guessing he would be 60 now. Allegedly, he typed out everything that he did on a single document. So he would write an email, right? So he'd be like, please give Oh, 64. Okay, so Tony Allen was great for 64. So he would write out an email being like, Dear Joe Hockey, I propose that we give $100 million to the school chaplaincy program and gut the like safe schools program. And he would write that in a Word document, and then I'm assuming someone else would like pass it on, and then he would just like enter, page down until he had a clean document again. At which point, he would then start writing his next document. So it's not that insane that people who are not that old still don't have that much literacy. Oh, and he was absolutely a finger typer as well. J-Dog, when posting is outlawed, only outlaws post. I'm here with you. I'm gonna be part of the resistance. Tony Goods, I'll volunteer my anti-vax parents who need internet supervision. You should help them. Actually, there was a Vice article that I didn't read, so I can't speak to it that much. But the headline was interesting, which is that someone said that they got their QAnon mum hooked on Wordle, and that was beginning to unpill them, like they were going back to normal. So can I suggest that you introduce them to Wordle? All right, okay. We got about 10 minutes left, and we've got a bit of stuff to get through. We should get to the Canberra cookers, shouldn't we? Now, I should say that other people have been following this closer than I have, but it's impossible not to have seen or heard about the convoy to Canberra, which is copying what is being done in Ottawa, where a bunch of truckers and other people, I think saying truckers is probably makes them sound like there's a specific trade, but really it's a couple of people on trucks and a lot of other cars have are trying to go and block up Ottawa. And the same thing, of course, started to happen in Canberra, because Australian anti-vaxxers, Australian conspiracy types have no imagination. They have no individual thoughts themselves. They just copy what other people do. Now, of course, our good friend George, soon to be former MP, which is very sad to me actually, was among them. Here we go.
George Christensen here. I'm at the Convoy to Canberra rally in Canberra, the nation's capital, and there are literally thousands of people here. They're all around me. I'm outside Old Parliament House at the moment, and thanks, mate. And this is a very, very peaceful rally. It's a very peaceful.
Have you ever noticed how all the people who attend these rallies always try and preempt stuff and say it's a very, very peaceful rally? Which is totally something that you have to say about a very, very peaceful rally. You've just got to really emphasize how peaceful it is.
Rally. We've got. I'll show you some of the crowd actually, if I can. Look, have a look here. Look at the people.
So if you can see these very normal people in the background, let me zoom in a little bit for you guys. We've got Pure Blood. We've got Jesus is my vaccine. Just an ordinary people.
Average mums and dads.
Look at this guy here. Just an ordinary person doing. Just super chill people. Just regular folk.
People who've lost their jobs. They're angry. They're rightfully angry. They're angry because freedoms have been taken away. But you know what? It's peaceful, and they're going to remain peaceful. But it's a message. It's a message to the institutions of power in this country, all of them. And that is, we want our freedom back. In fact, it was never yours to take. So here we go.
A good friend Jordan. Now, I've actually noticed that he's becoming increasingly like the World of Warcraft South Park guy. You remember this guy? He's really increasingly looking like him. He is actually kind of looking a bit more like a podcaster, I think it was Haley said. So then also, okay, so that was George. He's amongst these people who've been there. One of the main organizers, Ironbark Thunderbolt, who raised hundreds of thousands of dollars for the event, which was, by the way, very, very quickly frozen. He was arrested because he had a gun on him. The beneficiary of close to $200,000 raised on GoFundMe for a national protest against vaccine mandates has been arrested in Canberra after police found a loaded gun and ammunition in his car parked at the protest campground. Doomsday prepper James Greer, who allegedly goes by the name Ironbark Thunderbolt, was arrested on Thursday after a police search found a loaded motorized rifle in his vehicle. It's expected he will be charged with possession of an illegal firearm and will also face multiple traffic offences in relation to the roadworthiness of his vehicle. Sovsits absolutely love to want to overthrow the government, but also love to not want to get a pink slip or whatever. He is one of the leaders of the Convoy to Canberra rally, sparked by a West Australian truck driver, which led thousands of people from various parts of the country, including truck drivers and participants of so-called freedom rallies and sovereign citizens movement, to converge on Parliament House lawn from Monday morning. The protest is expected to come to a head on Saturday. It was okay. More than $170,000 was raised for the national protest. Look at this old school gun. Are you really going to try and overthrow the Australian government with that? It looks like something that my granddad would be like. That's ancient. Who do you think is our Prime Minister, Ned Kelly? Are you going to challenge him to a duel? What a gimp. If you're gonna overthrow the government, at least, I don't know, get a proper thing. Get a proper gun. That's me. Clip me on that. If you want to kill politicians, you should get a proper gun. Please don't clip me on that. That would be very bad. Anyway, absolutely owned. Here was an interesting moment. Yeah, I should say I'm very grateful for Australia's gun laws as they are, and I'm glad that he doesn't have access to a good gun. This is Graham Hood, who is one of the organisers, who's kind of emerged as a really big figure in the Australian anti-vax movement. He was a Qantas pilot who refused to get a vaccine as part of the vaccine mandate, and now has kind of become a full-time campaigner.
Today, Johnny Larder and I had a very, very lengthy and educational conversation with Chris Uhlmann from Channel 9.
Sorry, Chris Uhlmann?
The political editor in Canberra.
Oh, okay.
And
cool.
He likes what we're doing. And he likes what you're doing. And so do Fox, because they contacted me for an interview.
Fox reference as well.
Okay. Now, Chris Uhlmann said the budget for TV these days with the big mainstream media, it's him and a cameraman. That's it in Canberra. And he said we're flat out with the House coming back. All the politicians coming back. And but he said this is what you need to do. You need to have a crisp, clean message. All your people need to be really disciplined, because if you do that and you have a crisp, clean message that's short and sharp, you guys will win over the Australian public. A lot more than you think, okay? Because a lot of the people that are sitting home watching My Kitchen Stinks...
That's a great bird, by the way.
Instead of standing here in Canberra, in their real family, those people... we need to present a message to them that has them think when they see it on TV, and they're going to see our message. They're going to see my message. When they see that on TV, they need to say, oh, they're not rednecks. They're not Fruit Loop conspiracy theorists. What they're asking for is fair and reasonable. I want that too.
My shirt that says I'm not a conspiracy theorist, Fruit Loop redneck, has a lot of people asking questions already answered by my shirt. I mean, yeah, look, I should say that this is unverified, but to me, it sounds pretty believable. Chris Uhlmann, who has been a firm let it rip guy for a long time, who during the press conference today with Scott Morrison, his first question was, you're opening the international borders, How do we know for double vaccinated people? How do we know that you're not going to change it to triple vaccinated people? Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at all. And it also came out today, totally coincidental, I'm sure. That Chris Ullman will be will be stepping down at the end of the year. Chris Ullman, for people who don't know, has an interesting past, but he is probably best known for things like policing the bathrooms at the PMC. He posted this. PMC is committed to staff inclusion and diversity. Please use the bathroom that best fits your gender identity. Totally normal, innocuous statement. Meanwhile, the Biden office is the Prime Minister and Cabinet, so drawing criticism to it. And then as it turned out, they changed it the next day. Thank you, Chris. He's also had other great tweets like alarm clock. This is so weird from a professional who does not tweet that much. Buyer beware. Bought 2 of these less than a year ago. Both gained minutes each days, and then their numbers vanished. Okay. Cool, man. Cool story. Thanks for letting us know. I mean, there's more than that, but he's a weird guy. A weird guy. Whew. Okay. You know what? I'm gonna keep this one short and sweet. I know there is plenty left to talk about. I'll be back on Friday. I've got some great other content. I've got an embarrassment of riches. We'll have so much to talk about. But I'm very grateful that you all joined me on my first session back for 2022. So thank you everyone for joining. And yeah, so I'll be back. I think I'm gonna do, and tell me what you think about this. Oh, I didn't do my climate change. Okay, I'll do next on Friday. I'll do my climate change section. But tell me what you think. I think I'm gonna do Monday night at 8 and Friday night at 5 p.m. a TGIF session. You let me know what you think about that. Thank you everyone for joining. It's been a real pleasure to have you all here. Regina, of course, thank you. Big Almond Tree, Curvy Game Wife, Kyle Sheldrick, Haley, C, SV, who I didn't say hi to you before. Great to have you here. The Mr. Clee, Consumer Welfare Reporting Important Stuff. That's right. He's doing it for the people. Aaron Lee, Oliver Pocock, Cabbage Mode, J-Dog. Who am I missing? Grandmaster B Funk, Buddy Cart, Umaton, Zales, and heaps of other people as well. Thank you all for joining. I'm just going to also say one final thing, which is that 2022 is going to be big. The election is going to be big. I'm excited to do some good streams, tell some good stories, and hopefully we can have a lot of fun this year. And not just fun, talk about some important stuff, but enjoy it while we do. So thank you all. I will be back on Friday, and we're going to raid to the real Radhom, who is another small streamer who does politics, so I think you guys might like. And I hope you enjoy. And I will see you all on Friday. Bye.